In a small sun-kissed village called Oak, surrounded by red hills and whispering trees, lived a young woman named Amina. Her skin was the color of rich mahogany. Her eyes held the weight of quiet sorrow, and her smile was rare. They said Amina was born under a cursed moon. Her mother died during childbirth. Her father disappeared when she was 6. Since then, she had lived with her stepmother, the kind of woman who wore gold in public but poison in private. Every morning before the rooster crowed, Amina carried 2 heavy pots from the well, walked barefoot to the market with firewood, then returned to sweep the compound before the sun could rise fully. Her hands were rough, her feet cracked, her spirit quietly breaking. Her stepmother, Auntie Moreo, was a respected tailor in the village. Everyone thought she was a saint. But behind closed doors, she treated Amina like a housegirl. No one knew the bruises, the hunger, the loneliness. But Amina had dreams. She wanted to be a teacher. She used to sneak into the back of the village schoolhouse just to listen. Even if she didn't eat, she fed her soul with knowledge. And then one rainy evening, everything changed. Amina slipped on the wet path while carrying firewood. A luxury black car never before seen in Oku splashed past her and screeched to a stop. A man stepped out wearing a tailored agbada and Italian shoes. His accent was polished. His smile, dangerous. "Are you all right?" he asked, lifting her gently. Amina looked up and met eyes that sparkled like danger wrapped in diamonds. His name was Kwame. He claimed to be an investor looking for land to build a resort. But what he found instead was Amina. Kwame moved like a prince. In 2 weeks, he'd donated to the church, bought the village youth's new football jerseys, and paid off the chief's debts. Everyone sang his praises. They called him a blessing from the city. And when he began to court Amina, even Auntie Moreo's heart softened. Not because of love, but because of the gold coins he left on her table. For the first time, Amina smiled every day. Kwame brought her books, dresses, and even took her to a restaurant in the nearest town. He told her, "You deserve a life of ease. Amina, I want to be the man who gives you that." Amina, for the first time, felt seen, wanted, loved. She thought her suffering had ended, but the ancestors knew better. Kwame proposed in front of the whole village. Laughter, dancing, celebration. But at the edge of the crowd, an old woman no one recognized whispered, "Don't wear white, child. It will drink your blood." And just like that, she vanished into the night air. Amina never told anyone. 2 nights after her engagement, Amina had a dream. She stood at an altar by a dried riverbed. The sky was dark. Thunder cracked, but no rain fell. The groom beside her wore no face. When she looked down, the white gown she wore was soaked in blood. From the shadows, an old woman called out, "You are marrying a man of 2 graves, one for his past, one for his bride." Amina awoke breathless, her chest tight, heart thudding like village drums. But she didn't tell Kwame. She didn't tell anyone. That same night, Pastor Ofori couldn't sleep. While praying in his hut, a wind blew through and flipped his Bible to the book of Proverbs. "There is a way that seems right to a man, but the end thereof is death." He closed the book slowly, a chill crawling down his spine. A week before the wedding, Kwame returned to the city for final wedding preparations. In truth, he had another meeting. Inside a high-rise tower, a woman in a tight blue suit greeted him. "Sir, there's been another inquiry from the police. In East Legan, they're still asking about Sarah." Kwame scowled. "They have no proof. Tell them I was in Dubai that month." He turned and stared out the glass window. Below, the city moved like ants. "Soon," he whispered, "it will all be behind me." 2 nights later, the dream returned. Same altar, same dry river, but this time the faceless groom pulled a knife from his pocket. Amina screamed and woke up soaked in sweat. She knelt by her mat, whispering a prayer. God, if this is not your will, show me a sign. Unknown to Amina, her stepmother had already collected part of the bride price. 40 cows, 10 crates of imported wine, and 200,000 cedis in an envelope. Even if that man is a demon, she muttered to herself, he will marry my daughter. This wedding must hold. She didn't care for Amina's dreams. She cared for her own escape from poverty. The village sparkled like stars had come down from the sky. Music played. Guests danced. But Amina felt cold. She stood by the river and whispered, Mama, are you watching? Give me a sign. Just then, the water rippled unnaturally. A white flower floated by, then sank without a sound. Amin shivered. That evening, the pastor asked to speak with her. My daughter, he said gently, when the spirits speak through dreams, you must not ignore them. Do you feel peace in your spirit? Amina hesitated. No, but maybe it's just fear. Maybe I'm not used to happiness. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Then pray tonight. And if the dream comes again, do not wear white in the morning. The sun rose gently over Oku. The wedding day had come. Women tied their gel. Men dusted off old suits. Even the trees seemed to sway with excitement. Amina sat before the mirror in her stepmother's house. Her white gown sparkled. Her beauty was undeniable, but behind her smile was dread. Her heart beat heavily, like a drum calling for war. She had prayed all night. No dreams came, just a deep, empty silence. The drums rolled. Amina walked through the village, arm in arm with the chief's daughter. Children tossed petals. Elders sang blessings. Kwame stood at the altar, dressed in pure white agbada, his face calm to calm. As Amina reached him, their eyes met. He smiled, but deep within his eyes, something blinked. Something dark. Just as Pastor Ofori opened the Bible and began the vows, Amina's eyes rolled. Her body trembled. Her knees buckled, and she collapsed at the altar. Gasps filled the air. Women screamed. Auntie Maria ran forward. Kwame just stood there, frozen. Pastor Ofori dropped to his knees beside her, whispering prayers. Suddenly, he stopped. His hands began to tremble. He stood slowly, lifted his staff toward the sky, and in a thunderous voice shouted, Stop this wedding. The drums fell silent. The birds flew away. Even the wind paused to listen. The pastor looked at Kwame. You carry a curse. The blood of a wife whose soul was never buried. The spirit of Sarah is not resting. A murmur spread like wildfire. Just then, a woman appeared at the entrance of the gathering, dressed in black, face veiled. She pointed at Kwame. You told me you loved me. You buried me in that house. But my soul refused to stay buried. It was Sarah, his first wife, presumed dead in a fire. Some screamed. Some prayed. Kwame backed away, sweating, whispering. This isn't real, she's dead. But Sarah kept walking forward. The pastor held up his cross. By the blood of Christ, I command every hidden spirit to reveal the truth. Kwame fell to his knees and cried out, Yes, yes, I killed her. I set the house on fire. She was pregnant and I didn't want the baby. Gasps turned to cries. Even the birds stopped singing. Sarah's spirit whispered, Now the ground will judge you. Suddenly, thunder cracked above. Lightning struck the ground near Kwame's feet. He began to convulse, foam spilling from his mouth. The earth beneath him cracked slightly, as if the ancestors had opened a mouth, and then silence. Kwame's body slumped, lifeless. Amina awoke slowly, blinking under the sky. "What happened?" she whispered. Pastor Ofori looked at her with sorrowful eyes. "You escaped death, but only by grace. Your spirit is stronger than your pain." 3 days later, the villagers gathered again, but this time for a burial. Kwame's lifeless body was laid to rest under the iroko tree, far from the village square. No songs, no dancing, just silence. Amina stood at the edge of the grave, her eyes dry, not from strength, but because her tears were finished. Pastor Ofori muttered a final prayer. "May the ground contain what the heavens have judged." Later that week, whispers spread. The police had come from the city. Auntie Maria was accused of forging Amina's signature and collecting bride price under false consent. Amina didn't say a word during her arrest. But when her stepmother passed by, Amina only said, "You sold me for cows, but I am no longer for sale." In the midst of the chaos, a letter arrived. Amina was summoned to a law office in the city. Confused but curious, she went. An old lawyer opened a file and looked up. "Are you Amina Olenka, daughter of Adisua Olenka?" Amina nodded. The man smiled gently. "Your mother left something for you. A will. It was hidden for years." He slid a document across the table. "Your mother owned land in Lagos and a tailoring school, all in your name." 6 months later, in a bustling corner of Lagos, a new sign was hung above a workshop. "Adijua's Daughters, Tailoring School for Girls." Amina stood at the door, watching as young girls threaded needles, smiling. She was no longer a victim. She was a teacher, a leader, a protector. She returned to Oku once a year, not for pain, but to remember. One morning, she walked through the village with a child beside her, an orphan she had adopted. The villagers greeted her with respect, not because she was rich, but because she had survived and transformed. As they reached the river, Amina whispered, "Mama, I made it." The wind rustled the trees softly, as if her mother whispered back, "You were always meant to."